If you're always behind the times in terms of technology but are still looking for fun games to play even though your computer's an absolute potato, then here are the top 5 free low-spec Steam games you don't know about. Atma is a pixel art adventure game where you play as Shia, the guardian of the living and spirit world. Your lover Atma needs your help as he's stuck between the two worlds, which could mean disrupting the balance between the living and spirit world. First of all, this art style is some of the most beautiful pixel art I've ever seen. Somehow the sound design and soundtrack are just as amazing. The gameplay is centered around your ability known as Mantra, where you draw in specific ways to interact with the environment. You use the mantras to solve environmental puzzles that open up new areas and in combat. You start off with an electric mantra that's used to defeat enemies and move certain things in the environment by connecting them together. Then you unlock the wind mantra, which moves certain platforms, blows fire, and clears smoke away. The puzzles and combat are simplistic, and I wish there was an option to run, but I didn't care that much since the game is so pretty to look at. There's 2 endings in the game depending on which decision you make before you defeat the final boss. If you're looking for a gorgeous adventure game with environmental puzzles, then I recommend Atma. Mini Dead is a single-screen boss fight game where you control the character's movement with your mouse. There are 3 different bosses in the game that are very well designed. Because you control your movement with the mouse, you can move extremely fast, allowing you to dodge around quickly to avoid attacks. Your attack adds to this mobility by allowing you to teleport to the end of the straight line you draw every time you let the attack go. The attack is very unique in that you have to hover the line over the boss to deal damage, but you can't move around while doing so. You really have to know the boss's attacks or else you'll get hit. The fetus boss has attacks that come in from all sides of the screen, the iris boss shoots at you and summons a homing attack, and the berserker boss will slash you with his sword and shoot arrows at you. All the bosses are designed to get you to constantly move, so it's hard to get attacks in because the window to do so is really small. If you're looking for a simple but fast-paced boss fight game, then I recommend Mini Dead. Penny Morta is a bullet hell action game where you play as a wizard trying to escape 20 floors of a maximum security prison. It controls a lot like Binding of Isaac in that you can only attack in 4 directions as you move around. After you clear each floor of enemies, you get full health and an upgrade. The upgrades are what makes the combat intensely fun, as some of them are so random, like the poop upgrade that lets you eat your own poop to get some health back.
Good shit!
Half the floors consist of dungeon rooms where you're fighting a variety of enemies, and the other half consists of boss fights. The enemies and bosses are really well designed and scale up in difficulty nicely in conjunction with your increased health and upgrades. The game may look a lot like a roguelike, but there's actually checkpoints before each room, which makes dying a lot less frustrating. Every floor adds a new enemy, mechanic, or something to change up gameplay a bit, which keeps the game fresh until the very end. If you're looking for an action game with tons of upgrades, then I recommend Penny Morta. Escape the Game is a darkly comedic 2D platformer where Kevin the Cube is trying to escape the game. The game disguises itself as a simple 2D platformer, but becomes stranger the longer you play. You move with the arrow keys, but aim with your mouse to do things like hookshot to yellow squares, allowing you to fling yourself around. Later you get a gun which not only destroys blocks and enemies, but is used for movement, as you can charge it up and give yourself a boost jump. The level design ties in well with combat, as you have to fling yourself and move around the level to avoid the enemy projectiles. Kevin is constantly talking during the game and cracking some well-written jokes. Everything he says breaks the 4th wall, as he's constantly mentioning the fact that you're playing a game and he's in it. The game starts to intentionally glitch out the further you progress, which makes the levels have some unconventional twists. If you're looking for a 4th wall breaking game with fluid movement and funny writing, then I recommend Escape the Game. Germa's Big Adventure is an action platformer where you fight through caverns full of dinosaurs and evil warlocks. You play as Germa, who is this gorgeously animated FMV character, who not only plays the protagonist, but all of the enemies as well. You have a bat which is used to break boxes and reflect projectiles. The combat is centered around reflecting the projectiles back at enemies and hitting them with your bat. Each combat arena requires you to kill all the enemies in the room before you can advance. The game only has 2 enemy types, but they're defeated differently. The dinosaurs can be beaten up with your bat and have their projectiles hit back at them, whereas the warlock can't be hit with the bat until you stun them with their own projectile. You can also aim which direction you want to hit a projectile, which adds more precision to the parrying. If you're low on health, you can tell a joke to heal yourself.
Don't say swears.
And your joke meter is charged by hitting enemies. There's a final boss at the end that was actually very well designed and a nice challenge. If you're looking for a weird FMV game with a surprisingly enjoyable parry-driven combat system, then I recommend Jerma's Big Adventure. Someone says 2 bonus games?
Iridocyclitis.
Swallow the Sea is a disturbing game where you play as an egg on a journey through a sea of strange humanoid fish. You guide your egg with your mouse. The premise of the game is to eat things that are smaller than you and avoid things that are bigger than you. You go around the gorgeously strange levels, absorbing certain things into you to grow bigger. Once you're big enough, you can use your dash to smash down the wall that's blocking your path. The dash can also be used to move faster, which comes in handy for both evading and attacking enemies. If you're looking for a darkly strange game, then I recommend Swallow the Sea. Space Bear is a multi-choice adventure game where you play through an intergalactic tale about war and corruption. The whole game is centered around making dialogue choices by typing out your answer, except typing out the whole thing would be tedious, so you just type the first letter and mash out the rest. The writing is genuinely hilarious and full of fourth wall breaking jokes. The plot is absolutely absurd as you get involved with a corrupt president and fight against a planet of mole people. If you're looking for a funny game with excellent writing, then I recommend Space Bear. Those were the top 5 free low-spec Steam games you didn't know about. I'll have my playlist of free Steam games you don't know about linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with this ongoing series.